Hello, everyone. Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net. And as I promised, this is going to be a little different. I'm going to change things a little bit, have some fun here. And to add to the fun, I have Mack Adebayo over here from PCSN. Mack is our client representative, and his main goal in life is to make sure that our customers are happy and they're getting the most value out of our relationship. So I'm going to bring Mac in here. He's hiding over here somewhere. And then once Mac's on here, we will just have more of a conversational type of video. We will just talk about several things, and you can just join us for this conversation. So Mac, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hey, how's everyone doing today?
Hey Mac, nice to see you. So now you're at a different location. You're like somewhere near downtown Houston, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. Well, I'm up here on the northwest side. I'm like near the Woodlands, and this started off with a video conference thing, and now we're making videos, and I think this COVID thing actually is changing some things, and some things are for the better. I mean, I wouldn't have dreamt of me making videos and putting them up on YouTube for everybody to see if it wasn't for this, and now it's like, oh, no big deal, we're just talking, we're just having fun. So Mac, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I guess we'll just jump right in after that, and then talk about what you want to talk about. It's all yours.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Most of you have talked to me. Some of you haven't, but I'm Mack Adebayo. I've been with the company for about a year. I'm originally from Chicago. I moved here about 2 years ago. And so far, so good. Love the company. Love the way we are addressing the needs of the small to medium-sized businesses. And we're just here to talk about a few things and hope you enjoy it.
Great. So Mac, I get passionate about technology, and sometimes I have to kind of pull myself back because these videos we try to keep them short. We don't want to go too long. I mean, I could just talk for hours, but so you're gonna help pull my rein every now and then and just pull me back in if I try to go out of control. Now, just so the viewers know, we're gonna try to do a longer video once a week, maybe. So Mac and myself will be here. We'll just be having a conversation. Maybe we'll talk about the week, what happened. We will talk about some things, and Mac will have questions, or I'll have questions, and we'll just go back and forth. So at least one video a week. I'm thinking maybe make it 15, 20 minutes long, something like that. My normal videos are like, I try to keep them under 5 minutes because, everybody's busy. Nobody has time to just, watch video all day long. So, well, some of them do, but but not the type of people that we're targeting, right? I mean, most of the people who participate here are going to be business owners or decision makers, and they don't have a lot of time to just listen to chatter, right? They want to get to the meat and potatoes of it. So Mac, I've been making some videos here last few days, just some tips and tricks, but I think going forward, like at least once a week, we kind of need to expand our horizons a little bit. Absolutely. So do you have any questions for me, or for you want to ask something or say something to our viewers about what's going on or what's happening in the company or anything? It's all yours, so you can ask me anything.
Well, the crazy thing, we're all going through this crisis currently as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And I know during the week you and I were talking about a few things. Actually, there was an article in Forbes magazine in regards to the data breach for people that were applying for the PPP loan, if I'm correct. And so there were a few questions that I really started to bubble up in me, if you will, especially as it pertains to what we do here at PCSN. So one of the questions I had for you is, how do you feel the landscape of security will change now because of COVID, as it pertains to small businesses and medium-sized businesses and how they're treating their most sensitive information?
Interesting question. So one of the things that I can say, before all of this started, one of the things I can confidently say is a lot of decision makers out there were not as concerned about security as they should be.
Absolutely.
And the reason I say that is, I mean, I've talked to business owners and decision makers, and it will be things like that would keep me up at night. And I tell them, and I'm like, hey, we need to put something like this in place. And it's like, hey, this worries me. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. And they're like, oh no, I'm not worried. We don't need to do anything. Everything's working fine. Things are just humming along. And it's like, so it's almost like until it hits them, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to do anything to do, take like a preventative measure. So what happened with this current scenario is the environment that we're in now. I think a lot of that is changing. We are getting a lot more feedback from customers, where in the past they would have said, oh no, security is fine, whatever you're doing, Nadeem, keep doing, things are just going fine, we haven't had any issues, so why change anything? But now they're coming to us and saying, hey, Nadeem, we need to look into this. Or, hey, you talked to me a few months ago about something about security, and now more and more of my people are working remotely. What do we need to do there? So it's more top of mind for them. And I'm seeing this on my day-to-day stuff, where when I'm talking to customers, a lot of times I don't even have to bring up security. Now, for viewers out there, security is almost like insurance. Nobody wants it, but when something bad happens, boy, you're happy that you had it, right? So, and this is the same thing that we talk about, like in our weekly business owner conference call that we have, or meeting that we have, a virtual meeting, I should say, and it comes up in there as well that with the workforce working remotely, all non-essential people basically working remotely, it is much more important to implement security measures, at least the industry standard, the baseline. You should get to the baseline. My goal is to be beyond that baseline. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So there are certain industries where HIPAA is a requirement, right? That's something that you have to implement. You need to be HIPAA compliant in certain industries. If your IT department is doing their job correctly, you should already be way beyond HIPAA compliance requirements. You should be above and beyond that already, because it is in your best interest to make sure your infrastructure is secure and not have some other third-party entity forcing you to meet that minimum standard. That's the way I think it. You don't want to go overboard and blow all your budgets out and then spend everything you have on security. No, but you need to be beyond that minimum requirement that's there, which in certain industries is HIPAA. In certain other financial industries, it is something different. But most industries with some oversight have some sort of compliance requirement. And I think as we entered this new time, and it's almost like a separate alternate universe. These things are more coming to the top, and customers and business owners are asking me as opposed to me asking them about security, and I think this is going to be the new norm. I feel pretty strongly about this, that we are not going back to the way we were a month ago or 2 months ago. Life has changed, and it's pretty much going to change permanently for a lot of people. We did not implement technologies that we had back when because there was nothing pushing us into using those technologies. And what I mean by that was there's a lot of customers of ours that I know that I've approached them and asked them, oh, hey, by the way, do you have remote use? So unless they had people in other areas, working from other cities or other states, the answer was, oh no, all people, they come into the office at whatever time, and no, we don't have any requirement for remote. I don't want to have people working remotely.
Right.
Now, internally at PCSN, we became a decentralized company, I think like maybe 14, 15 years ago. And the way I looked at it was, most of our competitors, they had engineers and technicians and all these people come into the office, and they used to call it the bench. So these engineers would come in and they would sit on the bench. What that means is they're waiting for a job to be assigned to them so they can then go and do that job. Right. So while they're sitting on the bench in the office, they're there not really making you money, but they're there sitting there, So, and in my mind, I was like, why have people come into the office and use company resources and sit there not making the company money? I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, logically, right? So that's when I decided that we were going to have more of a decentralized office where we would dispatch techs and engineers straight from wherever they are. They don't have to be at the house, wherever they are. And instead of investing in fancy buildings and stuff like that, we started to invest in the technology on the back end. Right. And that's where different things that you might have heard, our customers might have heard, or, different things came into play, like Kaseya, our MSP platform, that came into play. Our, a lot of different technologies that we have implemented over time. So instead of investing in the buildings and things like that, we started to invest more and more into technologies to enable our users to work remotely. And one of the things, and I'll tell this to customers who are thinking about going remote, working remotely, or implementing some sort of remote access, is you will be surprised that people and users who were at a certain level of productivity, when you allow them to be able to connect and work anytime on their schedule, day or night, their productivity will increase by leaps and bounds. Yeah. The first time I implemented this, oh, by the way, Mac, I think your mic is on mute. One of the things I used to tell users was that I saw this, myself. People normally, if they had to come in, they would be in the office, 8 to 5 or whatever the time is. As soon as we implemented this remote access, I started seeing people in the middle of the night, 12 a.m. They're working. So all of a sudden I saw that, these people now, so that kind of, triggered a little light bulb in my mind, and I was like, okay, well, why is so and so working at 1 a.m.? Is he not working during the day? And then it's human nature, right? So I just I'm inquisitive, right? So I started looking into it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see if maybe he's not working during the day and he's working at night. I mean, why? So then I started looking at that, and I found out that some of the people, normally, if they were coming into the office, they would work, 7-8 hours a day. Some of these people were working 13, 14 hours a day. Yeah. They were not, not working during the day and only working at night. Yeah. No, they were working during the day. And then when I started asking them, right? So I remember, we used to have, one of the guys, I won't mention any names. He's no longer with the company, but I asked him one time, I was like, hey, you were working at 1 a.m. last night. What happened? Why were you working so late? I mean, you need some rest, you need to go to sleep. And he was like, oh, you know what? I was working on a project and I was laying down, I was getting ready for bed, and it just kept bugging me. And I thought of something, and I was just going to try something real quick. And he was like, it took me 15 minutes and it worked. And I was able to solve that one issue that was holding the entire project. And I was like, I mean, the productivity, just the ramifications of allowing people to work remotely was just enormous for us. So, I mean, I can't talk about that enough. It just transformed us. And, and I keep going on these different directions, but one more story I have to tell. So sure. I was on a call with some of the guys at Microsoft, and one of the things they ask is about user productivity and how to improve overall productivity for their partners, right? So I remember, one of the guys, I believe one of the VPs, he asked me, he was like, hey, so Nadeem, how many billable hours per tech do you have? And so I gave him the number, and he was like, but Nadeem, that is not correct. How can it be so many hours of tech time, billable time, when there's only so many hours in a day? And he was amazed. Our billable time was more than 12 hours in a day. And at that time, and this is a few years ago, at that time, he couldn't comprehend this, that how can a text time be billable for more than 8 hours, because it was 8 to 5 type deal, right? And then I explained to him how we do things, and what we do, and how it works, and he was totally blown away. And I remember his comment. He was like, so Nadeem, what are all you guys driving around in BMWs and stuff? I don't know where that comment came from, but it stuck in my mind, and I remember it clearly. He was and I was like, what does that have to do with anything? But long story short, with this current way things are, more and more businesses allowing people to work remotely. I think the productivity, once things go back to normal, the productivity is going to be much better than what it was before.
I agree.
Now, having said that, I want to say this, and I believe strongly this is going to happen. Before we get to that level of productivity, we are going to lose a lot of productivity, because right now a lot of businesses are shut down. I mean, right now, I mean, I go and I look at some of these strip centers, they're empty. There's that used to be full, that used to be so busy, they're just empty. So I think what's going to happen first is what we are seeing right now, and I call it the earthquake, right? So we just went through an earthquake, and we think things are pretty bad right now, but nobody's going hungry. Nobody's out on the streets, not able to feed themselves or take care of themselves. Things are still pretty good. This was just the earthquake. The tsunami that this earthquake is going to create is behind it. That's the one that's going to do the more damage. And I tell people, I'm like, wait for that tsunami. And that's why I'm telling everybody, and I tell this, internally, to partners, to other companies, get ready for that tsunami. Conserve your resources. Yeah. It is coming. So before we see that increase in productivity because of our changed methods and ways, we are going to see that slowdown, that economic slowdown, which I believe is coming. And we talk about this in our owner meeting every Thursday at 8 a.m. anyway. And you've heard me talk about this, Mack. I believe wholeheartedly that the tsunami's. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I would be so happy if I'm wrong. Yeah. but I believe that the tsunami is coming, and it's just a matter of time. So, but does that answer your question as far as security goes?
Well, absolutely, it does. It does. But one element I do want to kind of ask you in regards to that is, what are some steps that small businesses can take? And here's the thing that I think really disturbs me in my phone calls. When I'm calling businesses and I'm, trying to tell them about security, and you kind of talked about this just now, they were just okay with, oh, well, we have a firewall, and there's nothing out there that can keep my employees from taking phishing emails. And there are all these excuses. And now, just like you said, I'm thinking people are like, you know what, I need to pay attention to this. So what are some proactive steps that companies can take?
Right. So here are some things that you want to do. The first thing, understand this. Security is like an onion. It's layers. Security is always like an onion. It's got layers. So you have to implement these layers. So even if somebody peels one layer off, there's more layers underneath it, right? So security, always think of it as layers. Now, one thing that you want to do is, first of all, is understand the problem, right? So what I would say is, and I think I'm sharing my screen over here already, a browser. So one of the things that I would say is that you go to our website, or you can find some of these reports. I think pretty much every IT company that's been doing this for any length of time has some of these reports out there. But go to PC.Solutions.Net, our website. go to publications, go to reports. Now, over here, there will be several reports that you can download that will kind of give you an understanding of some of the things that you can implement on your own that will make you understand security better. Like 7 urgent security protections that you should have. I mean, these are 7 things that you should implement. So one thing is understanding the problem, and some of these reports will tell you clearly in concrete steps, these are the issues that you need to address. Now, some of these issues get exacerbated when people are working remotely.
Yeah.
For example, if nobody was working remotely, they're working in the office, there are certain things in the office that prevent these people from getting infected, for example, picking up malware. If these same people are connecting remotely from their home, and if they are using their home machine, it might be a personal computer, Mac, iPad, whatever it is, they're using their personal machine. This personal machine now is not under the security umbrella of the company.
Right.
So now you have a backdoor of sorts.
Yep.
That the employee, the user, is using to connect to company resources. And the bad guys, and we see this, the behavior changing with the bad guys, where they're now targeting individuals because they are thinking these individuals may be connecting to company data, company systems, using their personal machines. So here's a typical scenario. What happens, the type of attacks that we're seeing more and more during this crisis. Since a lot of these users are connecting remotely, their machines are getting compromised with malware. The company is not aware of these personal machines getting compromised because these machines are not under the company's security umbrella. So now this compromised machine connects to your company data. If they're not connecting the right way, they are opening, think of it, a tunnel to your company data. Now that malware that would have just been sitting on that one machine can travel through and start infecting the company network. And by the time you realize that something bad is happening, it's already too late.
Yep.
And that's the thing that people need to understand, is that you have to have multiple layers of protection when it comes to security. You might have a firewall, that's fine. You might have a VPN, that's fine. You might have some other systems in place. Maybe you're going on some websites and checking your domain if it's been compromised. But here's the thing, just like everything in life, a lot of times you get what you pay for, right? Now there is a lot of times I talk to companies, and some of these are larger companies. I mean, there's this one insurance company I was talking to not too long ago. It's a public company where by law they have to reveal compromises to their systems to the public because it's a publicly traded company.
Yep.
And I was talking to the VP of IT over there, and they were using Have I Been Pwned website to check their domain. And I'm like, for a publicly traded company with this huge IT budget, you're telling me you couldn't find a better system that will alert you and your IT team of breaches as when it comes to security breaches. I mean, this is an insurance company dealing with financial data, publicly traded. It has government oversight, and they're using some, free service that's out there that anybody, you and me, can use. By the way, if you're thinking about this, the website is haveibeenpwned.com, and you can go in there. You can type in your email address, and it will tell you if it found that email address on, the credentials for that email address for sale, or they've been compromised in some other way. So that's not the way that companies should do it. If individually, if it was just me, no problem. I'm not gonna go for a paid system if I can get free. But by the way, I love free stuff, so I'm not going to pay for something if I can get it for free. However, the quality of that service need to be at the same level, right?
Makes sense.
And so you know, after I talked to these guys at this insurance company, and I'll try not to say the name. Now, you know, the reason I say that is, you know, these videos, they're not edited. So, you know, once we record them, we just put them up there. So
Live and
they're raw.
natural
So if
here.
I say something, it's not going to be edited. The whole video is not going to get published, right? So I'm going to try not to say the name. So anyway, so finally, I talked to them about the product that we have, which is, you know, Dark Web ID, where it is a closed source, commercially available service that there is a team of people whose sole purpose in life is to find these, phished credentials and breached credentials and alert you way before they show up in Have I Been Pawned database. And we actually were able to prove it to them, because while I was talking to them, I ran a quick search for them and found several company credentials that had been breached that they did not know of, because Have I Been Pawned database did not show them to be breached. And so, you know, from me, it was, you know, it was an easy thing. You know, I can show them the data, and it's like, here, these credentials have been breached. And one of them actually had the password of a person in upper management. And, you know, the IT guys were kind of like, oh no, not his credentials. So, but the thing is that, you know, if the same people now are working remotely, the chances are much higher that these people will end up using their personal devices to maybe post up on LinkedIn or on Facebook, or, you know, maybe some of the users are managing the social media sites for the business, and they end up posting directly from their personal machine. Not intentionally, it could be a mistake, you know, maybe, or it could be just convenience. A lot of times it's convenience, because, you know, you already have your machine. You don't want to connect to your office machine to just make a quick post on you know, one of these social network channels. So you just do it from your personal machine. And if that machine is already compromised, now the bad guys have your credentials for that account. And if you don't have a system in place that will alert you very quickly when these credentials get breached, you're asking for a lot of trouble. Now, having said that, having something like this in place does not mean that you should forego having good backups. Like I said, it's a layered approach. You still have to have good backups. And as I tell everybody, two types of backups: image-based and data only, preferably both of them online. So you have to have your two types of backups in place. You have to have your Dark Web ID in place, you know, something that will alert you when it finds these breached credentials. Now, what happens once you have these things in place? I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you have Dark Web ID. Let's say a certain user's credentials get breached over and over. Two months in a row, a specific user's credentials gets breached. I would investigate that further.
Yeah.
I would investigate that to find out why a specific user's credentials are getting breached. Maybe it's something that the user's doing. Maybe it's one of the user's machines that has some sort of a backdoor on it that is not under the company's security umbrella. So the company does not have insight into it, right? So these are the things that we want to make sure. But I would say the starting point for any small business out there, or any business for that matter, is go to our website, PC.Solutions.Net, go to publications, reports, download some of these reports. Everything that we've talked about, one of these reports, I can guarantee you, one of these reports covers it, and it will give you concrete points that you can implement, that you can talk to your users about and implement to secure your company many times over. 7 urgent protections every business should have in place now. Get that report. It's free. I mean, we spend a lot of resources developing these reports over time, and take advantage of that. I mean, you know, we're not charging for it, so take advantage of that. You know, make use of it. There's, you know, another good report is what every small business owner must know. And it talks about not just from a security perspective, but several other things, you know, like backup systems, just technology in general. You know, before you make a decision on hiring an IT company to come in and take care of your network, take care of the backbone of your company, you should read this report to understand what you're really looking for. You know, the thing about IT is not a regulated industry. Information technology industry is not regulated. So, you know, I can come in and offer you ABC. Somebody else can come in and offer you XYZ. Of course, if I'm selling ABC, I'm going to tell you it's the best thing in the world. And somebody selling XYZ is going to tell you XYZ is the best thing in the world. True. It's up to the consumer of that service that they have to figure out what is ABC and what is XYZ. Why is ABC better than XYZ? And that's the thing. And some of these reports, I think, do a great job in that education process on trying to simplify technology so any business owner can understand it, as opposed to throwing in some fancy 3-letter, 4-letter acronyms and trying to make things complicated. And that's just obfuscation, right? If I'm using you know, specific technological terms, that only means that I don't understand the technology very good, and I'm hiding behind these terms, right? And I try not to do that. I mean, if I cannot bring it down to your level to make you understand technology, then I'm not doing my job right. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. I know we're short on time, but this is one question that I really would love to hear your thoughts on. Being that you are the founder CEO of PCSN, and as a business owner, do you think where we are is permanently going to be the new normal, where people are indeed, and you talked about the productivity, and you talked about it slightly, but do you think this is going to stick?
I think it is. I think this is the new norm. I don't think this is going away. And I think as we go into the future, we are going to, as our ways change, I think it's a permanent change. I don't think we're going back to the way business was. It's never going to be business as usual like it used to be. Wow. What was 2 months ago, it's done. That age is over. That was another era. It's not coming back. More and more people are going to be using more technology. Even people that were technology averse, I've seen they got involved with technology. And I hate to give you these stories, but I'll tell you another story. So back like I think 30 years ago, we implemented for a company a computer-based fax system, and this company did a lot of faxing, right? And there was this one user. His name was Richard, and I remember he said that I will never use that system. It's going to be over my dead body. It's never going to happen. Nobody here is going to use it. I mean, he was adamant. Now, one of the things that the system did was it always beeped. So when you sent a fax, if it was a successful fax, it did a certain type of beep. And if that fax failed, it would do a different type of beep. So I worked with this guy, with Richard, for a few days. I got him trained on it, and I showed him how easy it was to send these faxes without having to print them out first, and then going over to the fax machine and then sending the fax. Yeah. And then after that, losing that report. So when a customer says, "Oh, I never got that fax," he had nothing to show for it, right? All this was automated. So after about a month or so, I met with the owner of the business, and I asked him, I was like, "Well, by the way, how is that fax system working for you?" And he was like, "Oh, it's great." And I knew it was great. And the reason I knew it was great was because as soon as I walked into that business, I could hear these beeps, these beeps going off. And I was like, what's going on? It was Richard's office. I did not expect Richard's office to be giving off all these beeps. Richard, wow. The guy who was the most technology averse person in the company, who said it was going to be over his dead body that he would use this new system, was sending most faxes out of his system. Why? Because it was easy and he got used to it. I mean, it was just a couple of clicks and these faxes go out, and he doesn't have to stand there by the fax machine for these papers to go. It was immediate. He just sends it, boom, goes to the next job while those faxes are sent. So it was amazing. And we used to laugh about this because, you know, when you go into that office, the only thing you heard from Richard's office was these beeps because he was busy sending these faxes. And the owner was happy because all these faxes meant more money for the company, right? I mean, these were policies going out. But you know, the moral of the story is users, you know, because this is forced on users, they have no choice. They will get used to new methods, new ways of doing stuff. And once they realize that the new ways are actually better than the old ways, and the only reason they did not you know, take on the new ways was because humans don't like change.
That's absolutely correct.
We don't like change. I don't like change. You don't like change. Nobody likes change. So it's that, you know, it's that first step is the hardest. Once you do it and then you see how easy it is and it's actually better, then you will keep doing it. And that's, I think, what's going to happen. This crisis is going to force a change on us, and then we're going to realize we could have been doing this 10 years ago, and we would have been so much more productive.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it wrong, right? And I think that's what's going to happen is this change is going to be permanent. It's not going away. You know, along with it, there's a lot of stuff that happens on the back end, right? With all this technology, you know, just to give you an idea, you know, with this Zoom stuff that happened, you know, you know, so nobody knew about Zoom, you know, had this vulnerability until everybody started using it, and then they found out some of the you know, cons of this technology. And of course, Microsoft had a good product, you know, called Microsoft Teams. They had a good product, but nobody was using it. Nobody knew it because it was a newer product. And then all of a sudden, overnight, Microsoft Teams signups grew by more than 300%. Think about the strain it would put on the infrastructure by, you know, just overnight 300% growth.
Yeah.
Right? But we did not miss a beat.
Nope, we did not.
Office 365 systems kept working. Azure systems kept working. Teams with the 300% growth kept working. Everything kept working like nothing. And that's the beauty of the cloud, is that scalability. You can scale up and down as your load changes. And I think going forward, we are going to see more and more uptake on these cloud technologies. And this crisis kind of showed the world that, hey, you know, the cloud is not just in the clouds, it is attainable. I mean, you can go to the cloud now, you can implement this, and it will benefit your company, it will benefit your people, it will make them more productive. And at the end of the day, more productivity means, you know, better profitability for your company. And one of the things is, you know, like I talk about this in our business owner meeting. You know, by the way, if you are a business owner and you want to participate, you know, go ahead and send us your info, and I'll send you the invite for that. You know, one of the things that I say is, you know, these you know, companies, you know, once you implement these systems, it's not going to be easy to go backwards. In a way, it has opened up a whole new world for a lot of businesses out there. In a way, the genie is out of the bottle and it's not going back in, you know. So I think that's a positive. I think unless there had been a crisis like this that would force a lot of people to do things differently, we would not have tried, because we are all human. We are change averse. We're not necessarily technology averse. We are change averse. So once somebody shows us, or once we see for ourselves that change was actually for the better, I don't think we're going to go back. And I don't think we're going to go back. I think this is the new norm. There's no doubt in my mind we're not going back. It's not going to happen. And
just for the viewing audience to know, we're actually doing this on Microsoft Teams. We're doing this whole thing on Teams.
Yes, yes, we are. So just to you know, just so everybody knows, and you know, users know. So yes, we are doing this on Teams, and you know, I get this question every now and then. You know, people will ask me, hey, you know, where are you on this? Where are you on this thing? Sorry, somebody was disturbing me. Anyway, so where are you recording these videos from? Because I see all kinds of places where you record from. So look, right now I'm at my mom and dad's house. I'm not even at my own house. That background that you see all the time, that's a fake background that Teams using their AI puts behind me. Let me just turn the background off real quick and show you what's really behind me. I don't know if you can if you'll be able to see it on the fly, but anyway, let me see if I can change it to something here. Yeah, so let me apply it. So see, I'm in a totally different place, right? And I can be, so see, hey, isn't that nice? So anyway, but yeah, so this is just artificial background that Teams can do. And there's a lot of AI built into Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft technologies, a lot of, like the transcripts, the closed captioning for this recording that you can enable in YouTube. And I try to upload the closed captioning as well. It's done automatically via AI. We just hit record, we record it. Once it's done, we just upload it to YouTube. That's it. Yep. We're not doing any editing. We're not doing anything. And let me just change my place to something different. But so that's the thing. These technologies, they're here to stay. And look at it this way, Mac. Would we be doing these video recordings if it weren't for the crisis?
No,
we wouldn't have even thought about it, right?
It would not have happened, at all if it wasn't for the crisis.
Exactly.
It's funny. We would have been doing what we've been doing, postcards, letters, and now it's like, well, this is our avenue now. So.
Right. And when we started the owner meeting, and it was all done via Teams, it was a video conference, and I think that kind of sparked that little thing that hey, if that works well, why can't we do it this way? Yep. And I'm actually going to implement this for all of my businesses. I mean, I told the guys at some of the other places, I was like, hey, you guys got to start doing, because you're the experts of your domain. You got to start making these videos.
Yep.
It's not about whether you're promoting something. Just talk about stuff. Talk about technology. If you're passionate about technology, talk about technology. Yep. If you're passionate about motorcycles, talk about motorcycles. By the way, I love motorcycles too. If you're into cars or airplanes, doesn't matter. Talk about that. But connect with people. This is going to be how we connect with people in the future. I won't talk more about pandemics or crisis or anything like that, but I think this is the wave of the future. This is going to stay, and I think I'm loving it. I love making these videos, and I know we're way over time. We need to wrap this up, because otherwise we're going to have to cut it and crop it and edit it, and I don't want to do all that.
Well, so, that's our time.
So thanks a lot, Mac. Sorry I took so much of your time. And everyone, thanks for joining us, and be safe out there. We'll see you probably next week. I'm thinking Monday. I'm going to do a short video on Monday. I'm going to do one every day. Monday through Thursday, I'm going to do those short videos. And then on Fridays, or maybe over the weekends, we'll do a longer video, more conversation style like this.
Absolutely.
And hope to see everybody next week. Be safe.
Be safe.